Bonjour, mes amis, c'est moi, c'est Jessica. Hey, it's me, Jess. Welcome back to No Way. Tell me everything. I'm so happy you're here today. I really enjoy doing these episodes, and when I say I've missed you all, it sounds really weird because it's a one-way conversation, but I have missed you all so much. I haven't done a solo episode in a really long time, and I know you're thinking, didn't you just do one last week? You heard one last week, yes, but because of the magic of podcasting production, I actually haven't done a solo episode in a long time because I have been absolutely banging out some amazing interview episodes, and I can't wait for you to hear them. Really varied group of guests, really great people, really great stories, and I will be trickling those out. I know I lied, and I said I was going to do one episode per week on Tuesdays, but we all knew it. We all knew I couldn't stop the yap, so here I am again. I wanted to do a kind of check-in with y'all. This energy of this year ain't nothing to play with. It has been intense. We're just off the back end of the eclipses, and I know we were all thinking, yay, a break. But we don't get no breaks this year because it's a 9-year, and it is astrologically not even the end of some intense transits. So I do feel that the energy has chilled out like slightly, but I've been referring to how it feels to me right now energetically and the messages coming through to me as like we're in this cosmic waiting room. That's what it feels like to me. We're kind of not where we're trying to be or going to be, but we're also aware now of where we don't want to be anymore and the things that don't work for us. I haven't been seeing the patterns show up quite so much. Maybe that's just for me because I did the eclipse work, so it's kind of cleared out now. But maybe you're also feeling the same, that there's a little bit of a reprieve from that kind of universal testing or universal finger pointing of where we're needing to do some work. But at the same time, it feels like shit is stagnant. Like what I kind of feel like right now is we were like a river, and then we got to one of those eddies or whatever they're called, where like the water kind of stops and just kind of swirls around for a little bit and then eventually really slowly gets enough to the outside that it starts flowing again. We're like in that whirlpool eddy situation. Who hasn't been in an eddy situation? Am I right? But yeah, so it's like this weird, I don't want to be here. I want to be in the future version of me. I want to be where I want to go. And the universe keeps telling me, wait. Like the number of hangmans that I have been getting, which if you're not super into tarot is like patience, wait, surrender. There's been a lot of surrender. And I want to do another episode on surrender because I talked about it briefly with Annie in the first interview episode where her advice was to surrender. And it's the best advice that I could give anyone or anyone can give anyone. But the idea of surrender and the act of actually doing it are like so far away from each other, and it's really hard. And even when you think you've surrendered, you might be wrong because surrendering is completely detaching from the outcome. It's not giving up, but it is a little bit. It feels a little bit like, all right, I'm completely detached from the outcome of this. Whatever happens, and I'm just gonna chill for a second. And sometimes that does mean slowing down or stopping. But it's a bigger piece of the puzzle, and it's a really important one when we're in this kind of phase, because that is also the message that I'm getting through right now is not only wait, but that surrender of like, give it up. I think, what was that saying that Christians, I think we said it in our church, like, give it up to God. Was that it? It was the equivalent of Jesus take the wheel, I think. But like, that's kind of the vibe that we're in right now. So if you're feeling like everything is not moving and you feel stuck, go back and listen to the stuck episode. First of all, maybe that will help you, but just know that you're not alone. It's a universal theme that we're all going through right now. And I don't know, and I will never claim to know the workings of the universe because it is such a many feathered beast. Is that a saying? Sometimes I say stuff and I'm like, did I make that up or have I heard that before? Or is that coming through I don't know. It's complicado potato. Jesus. Um, this is why I don't have a lot of friends because I say things like that. No, that's not true. I have many lovely friends. They just like to microdose my my company. Um, shit. Where was I? Here we go. Boop-a-doop, boop, boop. Oh, I don't try to understand the workings of the universe because it is so complicated. But there is this kind of feeling that right now there are a lot of things that need to change in the actual physical realm of the universe, but also in the energetic realm of the universe. And therefore, like all of us awakened, especially humans, are in this waiting room because they're like, hold on, it's not ready yet. I've been getting so many messages every time I talk to my guides, every time I connect to the universe, just so many messages of wait. Like the word that I've heard the most is for sure wait. And this feeling comes with it of like, it's just not time yet. Don't give up. Keep, moving slowly. Don't rush into anything. If you do rush into anything, nothing bad's going to happen. It's just to say that you might end up having a complete 180 in whatever direction you're going because it feels like there's stuff going on that's going to greatly impact us. It's just not ready yet. And with all these huge astrological changes, with all these big planetary moves into new signs, and yeah, a transit is when a planet moves into a new sign. And there's some of these big outer planets that really don't change for years and years and years. And they're changing now. And right now it's also this phase of like sometimes they're going into a sign for a little bit and then they're going back out again and then they're going to go back into it. So there is this kind of ping-pongy stagnant feeling. And like I said, I feel like physically there's a lot going on in this realm. So, I mean, if we look at the state of the world and all of the people in power and everything going on, it feels unprecedented. So I know that I'm only 39, so it's not like I've been around like as long as my parents have, but it feels like the intensity of the political climate is amping up. And I feel that there is something going to fully big change there. But again, I don't get timelines. Like the universe doesn't work with our timelines. And when you do tarot, for example, they don't give you timelines. So I'm getting messages about justice, a lot of karmic justice, large changes, tower cards, things like that point to big things happening, but I can't pinpoint when. So I feel like that's kind of why we're in this cosmic waiting room, just chilling out, waiting here for stuff to go down. And I did say earlier for us awakened humans, and I think that is an interesting point to consider because I am lucky enough to have a lot of different types of people in my life. Some of them I would say are awakened and some of them are not yet or not going to be probably. And for those of us who are awakened, we're all feeling the same things. Like the number of friends I have who don't even consider themselves psychic, although again, if you know me, I think everyone is connected. It's how aware and how tapped in are we? But they're all saying the same things. They're getting this season of the sticks, this in between phase, this waiting room, this patience, this just find joy right now. Like just do the things that make you happy, find the spark that brings you joy. That's where your future lies. But also at the same time, it's almost like this redirection of like, just focus on the joy, focus on what makes you happy, stop trying to push things through because it's not time right now. That's kind of the message that we're all getting. Whereas people who are not awakened, the ones who I feel are sensitive, but not fully awakened, like my husband, for example, where he's definitely connected, but he just like doesn't really think about it and he's not trying to, they feel this weird, yeah, I want to do this, but I don't really want to do it. This thing is happening, but it's kind of not. I'm not sleeping well. That's a huge thing. Nobody's sleeping right now. Everyone is sleeping weirdly and having strange dreams and waking up a lot and can't fall asleep, all that crap. So they're kind of feeling it, but they don't think about it. They don't really care why. They just know like, I don't really feel like doing anything. And then I think the people who are definitely not awakened and will probably not be awakened, I think they're just going on with their everyday life. Like they might not be very happy about what's going on in the world. It's not like just because you're not awakened, you aren't aware to the suffering that's going on. They're definitely aware to those kind of issues in the political climate, of course, because we're all here. I actually feel that this is a side note, which never goes well for me, but I actually feel that there's people in the spiritual community who are much worse about not being aware of what's going on because they're living fully ungrounded. So I actually feel like the people who are not at all awakened are more likely to be aware of what's going on no matter what side they stand on. But they might not like be happy with the situation. Might not like their job. Like they want to quit their job, or they're in a relationship they're not happy with, or they're having a lot of relationship problems. So they're still feeling everything. They just don't attribute it to anything at all. And it's always interesting to me because I have so many varied friends around me that like some people will tell me, "Oh, I'm fighting a lot with my partner," or "I'm unhappy in a relationship." And I'm like, "Yeah. Well, but that's the astrological energy that's going on right now." But because they don't, um, not that they don't value it. I mean, yeah, they don't value it, but like it's not a thing for them because they don't believe in it. So therefore, saying something like that to them would just whoop right over the head because it doesn't, it won't resonate. There's no point in saying it. Um, and I, for one, like to know that kind of stuff. That's kind of how I am. Like, I don't let it rule my life. Like, if I read my horoscope for the day from my favorite app, which is the Pattern, and if you don't have the Pattern and you're into astrology, it's such a great app. I feel like it's incredibly accurate, um, especially when it comes to the birth chart. I mainly follow the birth chart astrology, but it's a great app. And I'll read my horoscope sometimes, and I do feel like they're very accurate. But if it tells me, like, don't make any big moves today, and then a big move comes in that feels really right to me, you better believe I'm going for that. Like I don't let it rule my life, but I do think there's themes that come up that make me, it's almost like having a headlamp in the dark. Like I can choose which directions I'm looking in and they're illuminated, but it doesn't mean I have to go that direction. But if I'm having a lot of discontention with my husband, or I'm finding myself overly critical of things he's doing, it's helpful for me to know that right now there are astrological energies pushing us to address areas in our relationships that are not working well for us that need to be resolved, because I don't have a spiral situation. I don't suddenly start to think something huge is wrong and there's all these problems and maybe this relationship isn't compatible and I don't know if I can ever get over this and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah. So this isn't actually as big a deal as I feel like it is. It's the energy pushing me to feel it so that I can deal with it. So anyway, there's a lot of that stuff going on. If you're having relationship issues, whether romantic, partner, colleague, any kind of relationship, parental, just know that right now we're also in Libra season, which is about harmony and balance. Um, Less balance, like time balance, like balancing out priorities, but more balance, like feelings and harmonizing relationships. And so what it's wanting us to do is to exactly what I just described, like examine things in our relationships that could be either better or relationships that aren't harmonizing for us, that aren't best for us, and dealing with that. So if you're feeling any of those things, it's totally normal. I hope that I aired this episode while it is still Libra season, but I think it'll probably be soon. So anywho, if you're feeling all of those things and this energy, just know that it's super normal and just flow with it. And like I always say, just flow with the universe because you can't really do anything about it. And as a lot of astrologers say, you don't have to believe in astrology to be affected by it. Um, you can't do anything about it. The degree to which it affects you is where I think maybe some views differ. Because I work a lot with energy, and I've worked a lot with people who both welcome the energy in and absolutely do not welcome the energy in. Um, I can see a difference in the people who are open to receiving the energy have a much bigger change and feel a lot more than people who are not interested so much or don't believe in energy because they're more closed off. So I do think that there is some sort of correlation between that if you do not believe in astrological influence, the energy is still happening. It will still affect you, but the degree to which it affects you might be less. That might also be tied to some other things, like if you're a feeling person, if you're an empath, if you're an energy worker, you're definitely going to feel it more because you are more open and absorbent of energies. We also have, I don't know if anyone else is as obsessed with the aurora borealis or the northern lights as I am. I'm in a group, so I do know there are other people in the world, but I don't know if there's other people who listen to this who are as obsessed with me as me. But they're going insane right now because we're having so many incredible geostorms, which are sunstorms, that affect us, because these explosions of gas on the sun that create these geostorms, which create the most beautiful lights that I've seen in the past few years, are happening right now. Every single night I check the app, the cameras, because it's just so beautiful, and I'm planning trips because I want to go see them. They're supposed to be amazing in 2026, and if you haven't seen them, I swear to God, it's one of the most magical. Like, I cry every time. I almost cry watching the cameras. They're just so beautiful. But again, that's me. Anywho, oh my God. They're crazy right now because of these geostorms, and it's day after day after day, like it's nonstop. So we're getting our physical bodies and our energetic bodies are getting pounded with energy. And then you have the Schumann resonance charts, which are readings of the Earth's magnetic field and the energy that it's pulsing out. Like, some people call it Earth's heartbeat if you're very into the um more like indigenous spiritual side of it. Then a lot of people think of it as like Earth's heartbeat, or something with the earth, but Earth Mother. But the scientific is called the Schumann resonance. It's a chart that measures the spikes in electrical discharge from the Earth's electromagnetic field. And they're having blackouts and whiteouts pretty much daily at this point, because every time the sun has a geostorm, the energy hits Earth, and then it's almost, I think it's like, I'm not a scientist, don't quote me on this, but it's like the Earth is responding, like it's bouncing back and forth. These energies are coming and going. And like, our human bodies are just not calibrated for that at the moment. So I think that a lot of that energetic stuff is to recalibrate our energy at a cellular level, an energetic ethereal body level, but also like your physical body. So you might be waking up even if you've had a really good night of sleep. Like, because first of all, it's affecting our sleep pattern. So a lot of us are having problems sleeping. Our bodies are feeling like on a live wire a lot of the time throughout the night. You might wake up fully awake as if you slept a full night, but it's been like an hour, and then have problems going back to sleep. Crazy dreams as well. But then physically, like, you might wake up even if you've had a full night's sleep and feel like you got hit by a freaking bus. Um, your joints could hurt even though you haven't worked out. Your muscles, you might have eye issues. Like, I've been having a lot of issues staring at a screen. Oh, also tech issues. So many tech issues right now. So yeah, all of these things are going on right now. So it's kind of a hard period, and I haven't looked into the astrological forecast for 2026 with any of my faves. But what I do know for 2025 is that it's not really gonna get a whole lot better. And again, it's also a 9-year. If it's a 9-year for you as well in your own birth chart, like it is for me, I feel like we're getting really hard on the endings. But I'm also very hopeful for the fact that next year's 1 year. So that should be hopefully great. Anywho, that's kind of what's going on. One thing I wanted to, well, the main topic I want to talk about today. What should that segment be called? Because it's not just the tip when we're talking about what's going on in the energy. I'll think about it. Maybe like a weather forecast. Pun. I don't know. If you listen to this and you're really good with puns, send me a pun for what we should call when we talk about astrological, energetic, psychic stuff. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is how to reconnect with your guides or with yourself or with your psychic abilities during these kind of periods where you can feel super disconnected and super stuck. So again, if you haven't seen, well, yeah, maybe you watched it on YouTube. I don't think so. But if you haven't listened to the episode about feeling stuck, you can go back and do that. That's very practical things. So that's like a practical how to get out of feeling stuck. But this is going to be much more like inspirational, mental, emotional. How do you reconnect when you feel disconnected? So let's dive into that. So maybe you already have started developing your psychic abilities. Maybe you're already very intuitive. Maybe you do tarot. Maybe you are developing and you're just starting. Um, the thing that's common with everyone who is connected to their abilities is that you will go through phases and you'll go through periods where you're more connected or less connected. And so it can feel very strange when you've been extremely connected and all the signs are rolling in, the messages are rolling in, depending on which of your clairs you're closest to. You might be super connected to your guides. And then like literally one day to the next, you try to connect again and it feels like empty space. Like there's no connection. You can't, if you're psychic, you can't do the blend, so you can't do readings. And it can feel very ungrounded and also lonely, honestly, because you get so used to the feeling of that connection, which has a very loving, nurturing feeling of I'm not alone. And as we talked about, spiritual awakenings they can be really lonely. And they continue to be lonely. Like I'm in like year 3 of continuous upgrades and spiritual awakenings, and I don't have a lot of people around me that I can relate with that have gone through the same things or are going through or want to talk about the same things that I do. So I'm taking practical steps to try to build a community here in Copenhagen for people who are into the same things that maybe feel the same way. But no matter where you are and what's going on, you can feel quite lonely when you go through personal development, even somatic healing. It could be a lonely journey. And so when you start to connect back to yourself, to your guides, to the universe, to your loved ones who've passed, or other people's loved ones, whatever level you're at, when you suddenly, I don't want to say lose that ability, but when you can't connect, it can feel really lonely. And there can come with it this panic of, no, I can't do it anymore. And you start to wonder, like, why can't I do it? I did something wrong. Depending on the stuff you're seeing online, you could start to think, I have an entity attachment. Um, I have psychic attacks going on. Someone's hexed me. All these thoughts can kind of creep in. So just to de-escalate all of that, a lot of the times what's happening is energetic influence. So exactly what I just spoke about for the first 20 minutes of there can be things going on that are making it difficult for you to connect. And it doesn't mean that you will never connect again. And it doesn't mean you should stop or give up. But there are some things you can do to make it feel less daunting and less scary if that's how you're feeling about it, or if you just want to connect again. The other thing is that I've had many situations where I am not able to connect anymore. I'm currently going through um, a period that's actually been quite a long period in retrospect to my development, but a couple of months now, where I have not really been able to consistently connect to people's loved ones who have passed. I've been able to connect here and there, and it seems to be somewhat dependent on how strong the person's energy was in life. But again, I don't know if that's necessarily what's happening. But I'm going through a period where it's very hard for me to connect to people's loved ones. And at first, I did have that, like, oh my God, I've lost it. Oh my God, I can't do it anymore. And then you can sometimes go into, oh my God, I think I was gaslighting myself, like, so bad, because I was like, maybe I never connected in the first place. Maybe I was only connecting psychically to people and getting information from them about their loved one and then thinking it was their loved one. And like, your critic will come in and, people were also in a psychic group I'm in, people were saying like, you know, "Oh, you're blocking yourself." My old mentor was like, "Oh, you're blocking yourself. It's an internal block." And I felt into that and I was like, "Yeah, no." But I mean, it is valid that there can also be other reasons why you're not able to connect. So it's not just always that it's energetic influence. It could be your guides holding you back. I've had that before where I was going too deep down the rabbit hole of mediumship readings. And especially free mediumship readings in a group. And I was really spending way too much time. I was losing balance for the work I had to do for myself, the work that I had to do here in the 3D world and the spiritual work. So literally one day I went to do a reading and I could feel my guides were like, no. And then it literally energetically felt like my guide was holding their arm out, blocking out the soul or the energy of the person from coming through. And I was like, you can let them through. And they were like, no, no, you can't do readings right now. You have to stop. Um, and that also sucks because, we like to have control and free will and decide what we do. And, my mentor, who I don't speak to anymore, but we have difference of opinions on a lot of things. But my mentor told me that they don't do that. I said, hey, my guides are blocking me. That they're not letting me do any readings. They won't let anyone through. And she was like, oh, they don't do that. And I was like, well, but that's what they're doing. And So that's also an important point I wanted to make, that you can get a psychic reading if you feel lost or like what's going on. I feel like that should be a last resort, and it should make sure that it's a psychic that you really trust, which is hard to find nowadays in the landscape. I mean, I don't have a psychic currently that I go to because I haven't found one that I resonate with. But it's just an important point to make, that like our first instinct when we lose connection can be to reach out to a medium or a psychic to get a reading, to understand what's going on. And you can do that for sure if that makes you feel better. But the two things I would say on that is, I feel like that should be a last resort if you're not able to figure out yourself, because sometimes our guides hold us back because they want us to work on something else. And you'll find that once you tune into yourself and you start to figure out what you need to do, what's going on that's not allowing you to connect or holding you back from connecting, it'll resolve itself. So sometimes you don't need somebody to tell you those things. You just need to connect back to yourself. And if your guides are like mine, they might even tell the psychic not to tell you. They might even be like, she needs to figure out what's going on, and she needs to stop looking outside of herself, because one of my lessons was to stop looking outside myself. So I literally had that happen where my guides literally said to a psychic to tell me to stop asking other people, and that I couldn't find a workaround outside of myself, because I kept trying to ask people and they were like, they won't tell me. And they literally told her, like, stop telling her, or tell her to stop asking what's going on. She knows what she needs to do. She just needs to do it. And she's got to figure that out by connecting to herself. So there's that. I did have two things. Last resort. Oh, also, the other thing is that psychics are people as well. Like, we're also people. And we spend a lot of time working on reading things not through an ego lens. And what that means is that you don't filter information through your own life experiences, expectations, or knowledge of the person that you're reading. So I always recommend to go to a medium who doesn't know you. I try not to go to the same medium twice, because then they already know stuff about me. And it's not because they're not a good medium. It's just because we're all humans and we all make mistakes. I do it as well. So even when you're getting a reading from a psychic, you have to also do the work yourself anyway. Because if your psychic tells you you're not able to connect because you've blocked yourself, you're still going to have to do the work to figure out how you did that. And a lot of times, what you might find out is that they're filtering things through their experiences of what has blocked them. And so it just feels kind of not the best use of your money or your time to go to a psychic to tell you why you can't connect, especially if you've already been connecting. You know, just do the work and it will kind of start to reveal itself. But I wanted to share with you what I do, because I've had this happen a few times. And like I said, right now I'm kind of going through it with this mediumship inconsistency that's going on. But I'm also aware that I believe it's going on because I am having some things happen in my own field that need to happen. That means that right now connecting to people's loved ones is not part of my path right now. And I think it will definitely come back, but right now. So when you feel disconnected from yourself, or disconnected from connecting to spirit, or you want to just get started if you haven't started yet, my first piece of recommendation always is to go back to the basics. So when you start to learn to connect, we all go through the basics. There's meditation, there's energy clearing, there's trying different types of connection, intuitive games. Like, there's a lot of different basic things you do when you start trying to connect. And so the first thing I always do is go back to the basics, because sometimes what happens, especially as you start to connect more and get more experience, is you forget those basic hygiene of psychic reading or psychic abilities or intuitive connection. And sometimes just going back to the basics helps a lot. And for example, I realized that I was going into psychic readings without doing my own meditations before, which is something that I always did. I always did a meditation to get myself in the headspace, to calm my energy, to clear my mind before I went into the meditative state to do readings. And so it was very simple for me just to notice like, oh shit, I haven't been focusing on my own meditation. So I know I've spoken about this before. If you're starting with your psychic abilities as well, I know a lot of people don't like meditation or they think it's hard. Tough nuggets. You're going to have to find a way to meditate. Again, it can be walking meditation. It can be a repetitive task. It can be anything that allows you to calm your energy and clear your mind. But if you cannot learn to be in the moment, calm your energy and clear your mind, unless you are just naturally very adept at connecting, it's going to be extremely hard for you. So you have to start doing those things and get comfortable with them. So go back to the basics. Don't try connecting. Just try meditating. Just go back to straight meditation, whether that's energy clearing or connecting to your intuition. Okay, so there is a little bit of connecting, but for yourself, your higher self, working on blocks, inner child healing, like whatever's speaking to you in that moment, just go back to your meditation. Some great channels exist for meditation. I can tell you some of my favorite ones on Spotify. I don't love Spotify if you know what's going on with Spotify, but unfortunately, there aren't so many great alternatives to it. So on Spotify, there's a really good podcast series called The Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. I love using a lot of her. She has so many different ones, both spiritual or energetic, and her voice is really calming and the meditations are absolutely great. There's also a channel called Gaia's Embrace Meditations and Reiki. Some good ones in there. Meditation Mountain, and trying to find a Zen Mind guided meditation, also a great one. Then there's some pretty good um, playlists and different types of music that are good for getting in the headspace. So you can look up any of the spiritual vibrations playlists. Anything with like 900-ish to 1,000 hertz is really good for connecting to higher energies. But then you can also get the lower ones for your different chakra points, basically. Do some of those. If you want to do something fun, because, you know, one of the things I recommend as well is to just chill for a second. Just take a step back, go have some fun. Don't take it so seriously, because we can get sometimes really into it where we start to take it super seriously. And it becomes like this push of routine. I do this every morning, and then I do this, and I have to connect, and I have to do this, and I do this many readings, or, whatever. We can get really regimented about it. And so one of the things to do is to take the pressure off by having fun with it. So it's not that you don't want to have consistency. You don't have to be so rigid about it, but you can still have fun with it. And one of the things that is kind of fun is doing intuitive games. So again, you can search intuitive practice or intuitive games on, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. There's a lot of different people out there who are doing these fun little games where they show you the back of a card and then they say, guess what's on the other side of this card, or pick a crystal, or which crystal did I pick? Like those kind of more fun games. And they also help you learn about how your intuition talks to you. So everyone's intuition talks in a different place. It talks at a different volume, and it talks in different ways. So for me, it sits in a very specific place and it's super quick. I will say that seems to be a commonality for people that I've taught. The intuition is super quick. It's like snap. But you have to learn to hear it, because a lot of times, not only is it really quick, but it's very fleeting, like in the way that like it's there and gone, and it's subtle. So you have to start to get used to like catching it almost. So intuitive games is a great way to do it. Just have a little bit of fun with it. Another thing you could do is to read. So again, I would say go back to basics, take the pressure off, and have more fun with it. And if you like, for me, reading is so much fun. I love reading. So reading is fun for me. You can, of course, choose a more fun book. Like if you want it to be really fun, choose some sort of romantasy or fantasy book with witches or psychics, or something where they use a lot of the theories and the practicalities and the real life stuff that we use in this spiritual space. But they tell it in like a fictitious story. So that can be pretty fun. There's a lot of good romantasy books. If you're interested, you can, again, search that on TikTok. Or if you want any of I have like 4 bookcases full of fantasy and romantasy and stuff. So you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to give you my recommendations. But I also brought some of my favorite books. So I do like a good book around actual reality of the world we live in, but then I also like some more fun and some theory. So I tried to grab a couple of my favorites. This one is called Drawing Down the Moon, by Margot Adler, who's a former priestess of Wicca, which is a religion within witchcraft community. But this is a very comprehensive, I mean, it's a big book, but it's very comprehensive. It's about witches, druids, goddess worshippers, and other pagans in America. And it's a super interesting book. It is almost more academic in nature. She does talk a lot to different people in the space in America. She talks about a lot of the different sects, feminism, queer spaces. She talks about everything. It's a really interesting book, but it's one that you gotta like dose. I don't think I can sit there and read this. For me personally, I can't sit there and read that book for an hour, but it's a really interesting book. If you're into tarot and you want a book that goes more into depth of like the theory and longer explanations of the cards and the suits, there's this book called Wild Card. And it's called Let the Tarot Tell Your Story by Jen County and Fiona Lensvelt. That's one that I've enjoyed reading as I've learned tarot. If you're interested in starting up your psychic abilities, connecting to them more, or again, going back to the basics, there's this book called Awaken Your Psychic Abilities, and it's by Debbie Malone. It's a very, very practical book, and it gives you actual exercises to do. It goes more into the different clairs. It has meditations. It talks about a lot of stuff within the psychic space. It's a really easy book to read, and it's also very helpful and practical. If you like a bit more of the poetic and you're into star seeds and ancient remembrances, Mary Magdalene, this book by Rebecca Campbell called Rise, Sister, Rise is a very good book. It's not very practical. There are some rituals and things towards the end. It's not a practical book. It's much more of a poetic, inspirational, beautiful female awakening and reclamation story. I feel like Rebecca Campbell's kind of well known. She has a lot of oracle decks, like I think it's called the Rose Oracle and some other ones. She talks a lot about star seeds, but her books are very beautiful. This book is more practical, but also very poetic and beautiful. It's called Becoming the Witch, The Art of Magic by Danae Moonthorpe. It has some really beautiful rituals in here. Again, when it comes to rituals and spells and things, I personally believe that you should put your own spice into them. But if you're a beginner or you need some inspiration, it's super beautiful. If you want a spell book that is way more practical and like for the everyday life for people who don't have a lot of time or money or resources, this Lazy Witchcraft for Crazy Shitty Days by Andrea Samayoa is really fun. It's super fun. It's really cute. It has like beautiful imagery in here, super simple spells with a lot of different ingredients that you can find around your house. She makes it super simple. She gives it like different spoons ratings, like how many spoons you need. And if you're a millennial, you probably know the spoons. Super cute. The other 2 books that I have that I would recommend, I don't have in my library because I lend out my books to my lovely friends. My awakening book to witchcraft that really to identifying as a witch really is called Witch by Lisa Lister. It is a beautiful, poignant book, and I would always recommend that to everyone. And then one that's not super witchy or psychic, but it's called Women Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given. That was part of my feminist awakening, and it kind of preempted a lot of the ability to step into this space because it helped me to not give a fuck what other people think or will say about me or do and just live my life in the way that makes me happy. So those are my book recommendations. Again, if you want any actual like fantasy and romantasy and stuff, let me know because I have those. The other thing would be to look into new podcasts. So I know that you love my podcast and you're like, Jess, what are you talking about? Because I have your podcast. That's all I need. And I would say, that's so sweet of you. Thank you for saying that. However, you should listen to other podcasts. I constantly am looking for new podcasts because I think, A, it's good because you get different points of view, different ways of thinking, which keeps you expanded, keeps you learning. But also it can, kind of freshen things up. So I've already recommended some of these, but I'll tell you there's one called Healing and Human Potential with Alyssa Nobriga. That's kind of practical, sometimes spiritual stuff, sometimes personal growth stuff, but it's a great one. I always recommend Oops, I'm Evolving from Morgan. If you like myths, which I do, there's one called Let's Talk About Myths, Baby by Liv Albert. Focuses primarily on Greek mythology, but she has just such a great way of retelling myths and looking into the feminist themes as well, and kind of taking the piss out of some of the male tropes in there. So that's a really great one. The Psychic Teachers podcast with Samantha Fay and Deb Bowen, amazing. That was one of my great ones that I loved. Soul Alignment podcast with Kiara Nalla. There's another one called Talk Spirit to Me with Jessica Lynn Mediumship. That's a great one that I listen to quite often. Comfy Cozy Witch podcast. That's with Jenny Blonde, who lives in New Hope for my Pennsylvania listeners. She has a little shop down there. That one was really, really great. And then I've actually just found a new one, so I'll tell you about that. Let me just see what it's called. It's called Psychic Evolution with Jamie Clark and Maggie Clark. I've just started that one, but it's quite promising and I like the things they talk about. It's definitely more psychic based, but they talk a lot about guides and the different hierarchies of guides and things like that, which is also kind of new to me to learn about. So yeah, listen to a new podcast. Or another thing you can do is learn something new. So if there's maybe a branch of the occult that you've considered, but then you're like, I don't know, look into it. Like if you do like all the stuff I talk about with astrology, but you don't know very much about it, you can look up different types of astrology and learn about Hellenistic or Vedic or evolutionary or past life, or you can get really niche with it. So you could look at like astrocartography, which is using your birth chart and the lines of, so they have all these lines of where the planets were when you were born and they go across the map. And depending on where you live on those lines, it kind of can influence your life. So you could look into astrocartography. You could look into there's a lot of other niche areas of astrology, but you could learn about those things, or you could learn about something completely different that maybe has been something that you've been considering doing. Just do something new. It helps expand your mind. And again, it takes that pressure off. So you're not just sitting there like trying to force something and you give it a break, but you still give yourself a chance to expand, in this case, your mind. I talked a little bit about it, but the most important thing is to surrender and then come back to it. It's not gone. We all have the ability to connect, and we always have the ability to connect. It's just sometimes it's either not a good day. Maybe your energy is just not feeling it. Like if you don't feel like doing a reading, don't force yourself to do it. Flow with your energy. Um, but yeah, also sometimes your guides are redirecting you to work on something else because you've done that. You got a taste of that. That was good. That helped you expand in a certain way. And again, it's not gone, but maybe you need to put your focus somewhere else. So go back to yourself and do the work on yourself and see what comes up, or go have fun. And part of doing the work on yourself is you could have a block going on. So maybe you've advanced enough that you're starting to think about being more visible with your readings, and suddenly your visibility block kicks in and now you're not able to connect because your subconscious was like, okay, I was okay with this when we were doing it in private, but now you've gone and started to think that we're going to do this more publicly, and I'm not okay with people seeing me doing this type of reading because they're going to think I'm freaking nuts. What will my colleagues think? What will my parents think? What will my friends think? Anything like that. Or you have a past life tie and you're like, well, I'm going to be burned as a witch just like last time if people know I can do this. So sometimes you have these visibility blocks, for example. So it could be something like that. It could be that one time you didn't connect and you created some subconscious belief that you're a liar and you're a faker and you're not actually connecting and all of this is made up. And so then you're subconsciously blocking yourself again every single time you try to connect. Or maybe you watched a video from, I won't name any names of people on Instagram, but some of these people who are very prolific on Instagram about how every time you open yourself up, you're inviting in dark entities, which please don't listen to those people. Please don't. Again, I will just quickly say you should feel confident in your ability to protect your energy and your guide's ability to protect your energy. And that is really the most important thing and the only thing you need. When you start buying into the rhetoric of inviting in all of these dark powers, hexes, curses, my personal belief system on those is you allow in what you allow in. If you don't even entertain the thought of those being a thing or anyone's ability to hurt you if you're not allowing it, it cannot touch you. It just can't. So this, I'm yeah, I don't want to name her, but there's a certain person who talks basically about anytime, basically she says anytime you go out in the world, if you're not protecting your energy as you walk around, you're bringing home backpacking entities with you. And that's just such a fear-mongering bullshit thing. So it could have been that you saw one of these type of videos as you're developing and you get really scared subconsciously. You create this belief that anytime you open yourself up, you're not able to protect yourself and you're going to get some sort of negative entity. And so you need to work on clearing those. So subconscious reprogramming can be really good for that. And if you don't have someone you can work with, like me, if you want to work with me or you want to work with your mentor or whatever, you can try doing just visualization meditations. It might not do the trick, but it will help. It will help probably. It will definitely at least make you aware of it so you can work on it. But yeah, you should work on those kind of things and reinforcing the belief that you are sovereign and nothing can hurt you that you do not allow into it. Also, a note on that as well, another note, there's 500 Post-it notes attached to this conversation at the moment, but you will have days where you feel like crap. So if you do a bunch of readings and then you feel really tired afterwards, that's just because you've used a lot of energy. It's a different type of energy. It's not like physical energy. You can't eat food and then be better. Like you have to recharge. So sometimes you can't connect because of that. But don't watch or buy into these videos that you get a cold or you get sick and they're like, that's an entity attachment, or you need to clear out dark entities that are attached to your aura. Like, no, we're humans, dude. We get tired. We get sick. We have things happen to us. I'm not saying it's not possible that there's an energetic cord or something, but it's not necessarily, and usually, in my opinion, not anything dark. It's either yourself blocking yourself, like with your throat chakra, for example. You could get a super sore throat and it could be a cold, but it could also be a physical manifestation, as I've talked about in a past episode, of you holding in things that need to be expressed and you're blocking your throat chakra. So I believe that most of the time when we have blocks or things attached to us in a way, it's just us. It's not someone hexing you or some dark entity that's come home with you from the bus station. It's just you blocking yourself. It's your own energy. And that's great because then you can clear that out. You can also go to a healer if you want help clearing stuff out. In your energy. And again, they'll help you release the block. You still have to deal with whatever the issue is that's causing it, but they can help you to start to unravel the block. So yeah, those are some of my tips for what to do when you feel like you're disconnected. But again, the biggest tip I can give you is just to relax, just chill out about it. Know that it'll come back. Something's going on that you probably don't understand. You don't have to give up. You can stay connected. But I mean, sometimes I've gone months without doing a reading because I just didn't feel it. I don't offer psychic readings as a service, as a standalone, unless it's for specific causes. It's just not something that I want to do at the moment. So it's okay to change those kind of things. It's okay to say, I'm not feeling this anymore right now. I don't want to do it. Right now in the fall is a season where I really get a call to do more psychic readings and mediumship readings, which is why it's a little weird for me and hard for me right now that I'm not able to connect very easily from a mediumship level, because normally that's not the case. But you just got to flow with it. You just got to know, okay, well, it'll come back when it's ready or when I'm ready. There's nothing you can do. It's again that surrender and letting go of control. Like if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But don't give up. Don't stop connecting to yourself. Don't stop connecting to the spiritual realm. It's still there. It's still happening around you. It's not completely gone. It's just maybe in that situation, it's not available. All right. Spirit guides, may I please have a card for today? Today I'm doing my goddess cards. Interesting. Can I have a clarifying one for that one, please? Ew. Aha. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so we got 3 cards here. We got my favorite lesbian goddess, Artemis. We have Nyx, secrets, reversed. And we have Gaia, Mother Earth. Interestingly enough, all Greek goddesses. But the message that I'm getting here is that you are so focused on one target and you're just aiming so incredibly laser focused at that target that you're not seeing the world around you. And the thing is that there are always secrets that the universe is working on that we're not privy to, and they're going on in the background. So you've too much laser focused that you can't understand or see the things going on, and there's frustration around that. You can probably see all of the moving things going on around you, and you're trying to stay focused on this laser target, but it's distracting you. There's a lot of things going on around you that are distracting you. And with this Earth card with Gaia, what they're saying is, when you're an archer, as we all are, when you're about to take your shot, you take a deep breath and you hold it, you release the breath, and only then when you're grounded, when you're centered, and when you're clear on the target, do you release the shot. So the whole message with the sequence of having Artemis come out first, and then Nyx, and then Gaia, so focus, secrets to be revealed, and grounding. What the message for us here is that don't lose sight of the goal. Don't lose sight of the target. But don't focus so much that you can't see that things around you need to quiet or you need to be clear. That's the message I'm getting now. You need to be clear, even with everything going on around you that you don't understand that's going on for you, for the universe, all of this chaos. You need to be so grounded and centered in yourself before you take that shot. So I feel that this is not necessarily tied actually to what we talked about. Normally the cards that come out, I feel like, are very tied to whatever we've spent the time talking about. But the message here that I'm getting feels related, but not. It very much feels like there's something going on for many of you. Again, if this resonates with you, take it. If not, don't. But it feels like for the people listening, there's a goal that you've had in mind for a while, and it's been your sole focus. And that's where you've been putting all of your time and energy. All of your eggs are in that basket, is what I'm hearing. But you're not ready to shoot at that target yet. There's things going on around you. There's secrets yet to be revealed. You need to ground and center. Hold that breath. Maybe, yeah, I guess this feels related to the beginning of the episode. Hold that breath because we're in that waiting space. And only when you can release that breath, when you are clear and grounded in yourself and centered and you can clearly see the target and know exactly how you're going to shoot that target, then you release the shot. So yeah, okay. It feels related to what's going on with the energy in the moment, less so than how to connect. But that's great. That's fine. Thank you, cards. Thank you, universe and guides, for that beautiful message. Hold is what I'm hearing. Everyone hold. Don't take the shot yet. Yeah. Thank you all for joining me today. As always, I love you. Please follow me on socials, jess.solstice. Check out my services on my website. I'm kind of taking a little break, honestly. I just did a bunch of stuff, so I'm chilling out. I'm holding is what I'm doing. I'm holding. And I hope that you'll join me next week for a Tuesday interview with one of my lovely upcoming guests. Stay cool. Stay you. Love ya.